AllBall TV.
They scared, but I'm not.
They don't like comentario.
Y suscribe. Tibbs is going to have to do something to shake up this roster and to also give the opposing team something else to think about. I think we're going to need a Steve Kerr moment. And let me explain. How would y'all feel if by the playoffs, Hart comes off the bench and he starts Mitchell Robinson? Now, for me, just real quick, and because I want to hear, y'all opinion on that. Because we got to remember, it doesn't mean Mitchell Robinson has to play starter minutes, but just maybe to show a different lineup. And then now coming off the bench, we even stronger with, like I said, I'm saying when Brunson is healthy. Now off the bench, we're stronger with Deuce, Precious, Hart. How would y'all feel about that? Something like that happening eventually.
I think that's what originally was supposed to happen. Like, if you go back to something Tibbs said early on in the year, and when Mitchell Robinson was getting healthy, he said, this is our starting center. So how we was going to go into this season was Josh Hart coming off the bench. And now when we talk about our depth looked entirely different. We talk about the Knicks bench completely different. But we've watched 60, close to 70 games of Josh Hart starting. And so now we look that different. But yeah, 100%. I would not be opposed to him starting Mitchell Robinson, because he brings so many different aspects to the game for us that we miss with Cat at the 5. Everything that Mitchell does, flying around, offensive rebounding, contesting shots. Or I started to count how many shots Cat didn't contest. I lost count tonight. I was going to come here tonight and tell you how many shots was shot in front of him and he didn't even put a hand up. But I said, nah, I ain't going to do that because I lost count at one point. What I'm saying is that's what he would be able to make up for what Cat is missing on the defensive end. Kind of like what Rudy Gobert did for Cat in Minnesota. Playing against Joker, that's a tough matchup. So when you know that you have help coming from Naj Reid, help coming from Rudy Gobert, you could play a different way. So for sure, I think playing Mitchell Robinson in the starting lineup and going into the playoffs, that's love, OG, because now ain't nobody got no tape on that. Nobody's seen it. Right. Nobody has played against it, at extended periods of time. Like, now you got to readjust to Josh Hart coming in the game off the bench. Like, I think it's something that you got to think about for sure.
I mean, that was the plan last year, so he does whatever it takes to win. Like you said, they don't have tape on it. I think more importantly, it's a little bit different if, let's say, Mitchell Robinson got to take a breather at the 7-minute mark, 8-minute mark, and then you got Josh Hart coming in, lightning rod, and you got to worry about that in a playoff game. Everything about sports and just life in general, but in sports, you want to make the other people think, man. You want to get them stressed out, and Josh Hart can, he's a headache for us sometimes. He was like that for the West Coast trip, but then you see what the good side to it is today. If you bring that into a first quarter and he's just coming in like a lightning rod, the other team, you know how it is. This guy's mad energetic. We just had a regular basketball game. He wants to come in here, jumping over people's shoulder and diving on the floor. I think he leads the league in, loose balls recovered, like we talked about earlier, all ball. That's he's a headache. And, that's inspiring. That's what we talked about before. It was the Steph Currys of the world, who Deuce McBride did a great job on, and we forgot to mention because we were stuck on the Cat thing for too long. Right. He just runs around. That's the same thing. To your point, AllBall. If we're playing the Cavs, you have to start Mitchell Robinson. If we get the 7th seed somehow, or whatever the case may be, there's no way you don't start Mitchell Robinson, because you got to see if he still got it over Jared Allen and take his heart again. Because those guys, what's his name, Atkinson and Donovan Mitchell, they came out and they're just flat out honest. They said that Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, that they kind of soft-spoken and they don't like them being loud and everything like that. Well, that's perfect. That's probably part of the reason why Mitchell Robinson is dominating them. Or y'all ain't communicating. Take advantage of that. You got to, take advantage of the opportunity. Same thing with Deuce McBride and Mikal Bridges. It was starting to heat up a little bit. Today was a great game. But now that you have that in your rear view, like, oh, this kid might take my spot. You know, I don't know if that's up in the air either, old boy. Like, I'll flip the question back to you. Would you want to see Mitchell Robinson start before the playoffs, or you said for the playoffs?
Well, I said, for the playoffs, but I was getting to what you was just saying. I think he should start it as soon as possible. Um, because I think for Tibbs now, I know nobody's going to agree with me and say Tibbs not on a high seat and he's not going to get fired. Okay, cool. But I think Tibbs needs to do something to shake things up to prove that he is a great coach and he's worthy of coaching this team. And I think if now it doesn't have to be that move. I just like that move. I like Mitch starting because for one, that takes so much pressure off of Cat. Now he can legit play the 4, which is his position. And then now we got more firepower coming off the bench. Because let's be realistic, Mitchell Robinson coming off the bench is not giving us no points. We need energy, we need pace, we need that coming off the bench. I think Deuce and Josh Hart coming off the bench and with Precious, with his confidence getting better and better. Because for me, when the playoffs come, things get tight. Campaign and Sherman and them dudes ain't gonna be playing no big minutes. They're gonna shrink that thing from 10, 11 to probably a 7, 8 man roster when we get to the playoffs. But I just feel he should start Cat and Mitch. And like I said, to me, that just makes our bench that much better because right now we have 2 major problems. And Fleet always attests to this, and Fabian, you agree. The 2 major problems is bench scoring and defense. And I think if you are able to swap those 2, it kind of solves some of those problems. Now, it may not solve it totally, but now you have Mitch in the starting lineup who's going to help with defense, protecting the rim, and rebounding, and offensive rebounding, second chance shots. And then now you got a guy coming off the bench that can get you a triple-double. So for me, I think eventually Tibbs is going to have to figure something out and make some type of move to kind of get the city, back on his side because like I said, I've been to a lot of games, and a lot of people is not a fan of Tibbs. But I think if Tibbs can make a move like that and it actually works, I think Tibbs' job will be secure. But I think we're going to have to do something to shake things up. We cannot keep going into these games playing against these good teams with the same roster, with just the same everything, because the game plan against us is going to be simple. So he got to see. I think he got to shake things up a little bit. So I would love to see that happen before the playoffs.
Flea, would that depend on our matchup? Because as of right now, we got the Pistons the first round. We throwing Mitchell Robinson out there to shake things up since they haven't seen us with Mitchell Robinson. They played us. We didn't have Mitch back then, and they stayed in the game, and we blew 2 assignments on the defensive end. Brunson on the switch, I think one time, and OG I think messed up the other assignment. Would you consider going against Detroit with Mitchell Robinson in the starting lineup?
I don't know. I got to go back and look at because I know one thing: Detroit has played us tough all season long. Besides, I think the first game of the season, the first time we saw them in Detroit, I think we punched them. But after that, every time we've seen them, we saw them at the Garden, I think twice, or saw them. They've played us tough. I think they've even beaten us the last couple of times that we've seen them. So, yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if it's necessary to go to that, but I think. Listen, I think you just go to that throughout the rest of the playoffs, no matter what the matchup is. No matter what the matchup is. If we know that Karl-Anthony Towns is better at the 4, you just go with that. You just go with that and that's your adjustment. You've played him all season long at the 5 because you kind of had to. Now you get Mitchell Robinson back, and it kind of shifts everything. And now you could go into the playoffs a completely different look, right? With a guy that could fit in seamlessly. So it's not like, guys are going to have to figure out how to get shots or how to figure out how to work guys in. It's going to be the same kind of offense. You're just getting a guy now that could get you extra possessions. That's going to be a way better defender at the 5 position, some rim protection. Like you add so much to that first unit when you bring Mitchell Robinson in there. And when you take Josh Hart off the bench, you don't lose much from what he does. He's an energy guy. He's an energy guy. And I think he's played most of his career coming off the bench. I don't see why he can't transition into that, knowing that that's going to take us to another level, this specific team, this team. So, you know, we got to, you know, move the egos. If that's an issue, we got to move how we thinking about this thing. Our captain is still down. We don't have Brunson back yet. You know, we need him back, obviously, for this thing to really go where it needs to go. But if we're working on playing defense, rebounding, just, you know, holding each other accountable, getting all of that shit out of the way now, you know, we can be a problem going into the playoffs. Again, it's all about matchups. All about matchups.
And just real quick, Fabian, before you go, I'm just saying that because once you get to the playoffs, all the teams in the playoffs are good. They're in the playoffs for a reason. And, you know, when we stomp out teams like Miami, yeah, that's a great win. But y'all know we want to look like how we look tonight against Golden State, OKC, Cleveland, Boston. So for me, I just think when we play those teams, we got to switch some things up because what we've been doing has done nothing but get us mopped off the floor. So maybe we try a little adjustment. And once again, if you see it's not working in the first couple minutes, okay, Mitch out. Go ahead, Hart. But I think Tim is going to have to do something. Because like I said, when we go against them real good teams, listen, you know, you got a game plan and do something sneaky with that because you ain't gonna be going in there with that same game plan that got us mopped up off the floor all regular season.
I will say I did hate the fact that I seen like Dame Lillard picking up quality time with Jericho Sims, and then he's talking about how he's spending time with him, getting to know him. But that very same game, they show him like
with who?
With Jericho Sims.
Oh,
And that very same game, you see Dame, the way he set up to throw the alley to Jericho Sims, it was like, yo, we really don't have anybody that does that on the team. I seen Josh Hart try to throw an alley to Mitch Rob. I'll be disgusted. Can anybody throw a skip pass on this team? I hate to get all.
I said that the other day. We don't have no athletes, and like you said, we don't have no great passes.
Eyes on the prize, baby, Bubba. Prize picks. Run your game,
baby, Bubba.
AllBall TV.
They scared, but I'm not.
They don't like comentario.
Y suscribe.